got myself my one and only coffee of the day. This is only a vanilla latte, so it's okay. No mum police out there, don't tell me off. It's my only bit of energy for the day, okay? Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Hello, welcome if you're new. My name is Megan and I'm currently 20 weeks pregnant with my first baby. I'm very excited to bring you guys along on this journey with me. I hope you guys are excited to follow along. I am filming today a long-awaited video that I've been wanting to film for a very long time. You might have heard me say it from previous videos if you follow along with me and watch my other videos. I've been wanting to film this for a long time. This is my like trying to conceive journey, TTC, I don't even know. Conceiving journey. I know this video might be triggering to some people, so please don't watch if you are going on this journey, and it's very hard. I've experienced it and I have to say it's not an easy journey, and it's one of those journeys that you think for yourself that's not going to be too long but might be longer than you expect. And I'm sending all my baby dust to all mums trying to conceive. It is a hard journey, and I didn't think I'd be one of those people saying that. For how young I am, I didn't expect to be trying for how long I was trying for a baby. As much as Jaden might say that we weren't trying, technically we were trying for a baby. So Jaden's perspective on this video might be very different to my perspective, but we were trying for a baby. He told everyone we weren't, but we were trying. I'm filming this on natural light, so if the lighting goes crazy in this video because the sun suddenly decided to come out, and it has pretty much been in the shade most of the day, it keeps coming in and out of the clouds, so I apologise in advance for the lighting in this video that's going to change. Yeah, also I might get out of breath, I might lose my track, and I don't know how long this video is going to be. It might be a 10-minute video, it might be a half-an-hour video, so just get your cup of tea just in case, get your coffee just in case, and sit down and enjoy. I'm going to start at the very beginning of our journey with trying to conceive. I wouldn't even say it was we were trying at the very beginning, because we weren't. I can vouch for Jaden when we say that we weren't trying at the beginning. So I'm going to look at my notes because I've had to refer back to some notes, make a whole list on my phone of roughly what happened and like a timeline, so you guys can relate to that and see actually how long it had taken us. So going back over a year ago, going back to October 2021, so we're now in 2023, and I sat down with Jaden. Well, actually, before even that, I was out and about with my auntie, Rachel, which many of you would probably know by now. I love Rach. She's literally like one of my best friends. We were out shopping at the mall, and as you might know or may not know, she has a 1-year-old. He is gorgeous. His name is Heston. And we were out shopping, me, Rach, and Heston. He was very young at the time, and we were talking about whether or not... Guys, I've always wanted to be a young mum. Me and Jaden always said that we want to be young parents. That was just always within our life goals. We've always had that agreement of being young parents. We didn't want to be older. We like the idea of having kids in our early 20s. We've always said that to each other. And I'm always broody, guys. I love kids. My family's full of kids. My family is massive, and I just love babies. I just think they're adorable. Kids are just adorable. So I've always been a very broody person and wanting to have kids young. Me and Rachel were out shopping. She was like, oh Meg, like when are you planning on trying for a baby? You know, like it took Rachel quite a long time to conceive Heston. So she was just like, you know, it took me longer than what I thought. Like, do you not want to try? Even though she is older than me, she had Heston at like 30, so she was a bit older than me. Myself at the time was 21, so I was thinking to myself, oh, like I don't want to come off my pill straight away and then fall pregnant straight away, because 21 still felt like that age, like it was still quite young to a lot of people. So I was just like thinking about, you know, she implanted the seed in my head. She was like, when do you want to have kids? Because it took me a long time, so you need to start thinking about whether or not you want kids. It could take you ages. She was like, you know, like I didn't fall pregnant straight away. It took her over like pretty much a year to fall pregnant. She said, if you want kids this time next year, then I would really think about coming off the pill. And being on the pill for so long, I was on the pill for about, well, from when I met Jaden, from about 15 all the way until I was 21. So I was literally like on there for 7 years, 15, yeah, 7 years straight I was on the pill. And I was one of those people on the pill as well. Like I would have reminders on my phone to take my pill. I was very good at taking my pill, never missed a pill. Yeah, I was just very good with it. And I never had one of those moments that some people have when they're young, when they're like, oh my god, I forgot to take my pill, I might be pregnant, etc. So I was just like very good at taking my pill. Anyway, so that day I remember coming home and I said to Jaden, like, maybe we should start thinking of me coming off the pill. Jaden, this freaked Jaden out. He was there like, nah, hun, you're not coming off your pill, it's too soon. Just think, we moved in our house in March 2021, and I was saying this in October. The house was still not ideal to have a baby in. He was just like, I don't think it's a good idea at all, you coming off your pill. And I think I kind of persuaded him. I just said to him, like, it took Rachel a long time, it might take us a long time, and if you want kids this time next year, you suddenly might want to have a baby, and it can take me a long time to come off the pill. I think I kind of jinxed myself when I said that. So I jinxed myself when I said that, I think, because I was expecting to be like, come off my pill and fall pregnant straight away, which was not the case. So I said to Jaden about it. I said, look, I'm gonna come off my pill regardless. I basically turned around and said, like, I think it's good for me to have a break coming off my pill, because if we do want kids soon, I think I need to give my body a break before even trying. If we try other methods of preventing kids, what's it called? Contraception. If we try other methods of contraception, if he wanted to use a method of contraception, then I was more than happy for him to do that. And I basically turned around and said, I don't think it's a good idea for me to continue staying on the pill. I was on the pill for so long, I was kind of just like scared, and Rachel kind of like triggered it to me, like, you've been on the pill for a long time now, Meg, like, maybe it's a good idea you come off it. I stopped taking my pill, and Jaden agreed with that. He kind of said, like, look, I'm happy, like, we're not trying for a baby, but if it happens, it happens, we'll both be happy. We were just on that timeline, and we were both on the same page of saying, yes, we're both happy for me to come off the pill, and we weren't trying for a baby. Secretly in my head, I was like, oh my god, I'm not on the pill, this is baby mode. Like, baby mode is now switched on. Like, I want a baby. And I told my mum, I told my sisters, which I don't think I should have, but I did tell them. And they were like, oh my god, Meg's trying for a baby. And Jaden used to tell me off all the time. He'd be like, why is everyone thinking we're trying for a baby? We're not trying for a baby. Like, we made this agreement, we're not trying. We're just like, you've basically just come off your pill. Like, we're just gonna see what happens. But my mum was always like, no, Meg, you've come off your pill. You basically are trying for a baby. You're not preventing it, so you are trying. So in my head, I was kind of, she knew how much I wanted to be a mum. Yeah, I think everyone was just really excited for us to have a baby. That is where our journey started. October 2021 was when we made the first initial, we had a conversation on the sofa, and I remember it, on our 2-seater sofa, which was literally chewed to bits by Kobe. Yeah, I remember us sat down talking about it then. That was the first initial moment of us starting our trying to conceive journey. As soon as we had that conversation, I started looking into apps, because I follow a lot of YouTubers and I follow a lot of influencers on Instagram, and lots of them use apps to track their cycles. Even if they're not trying for a baby, they use it just to track when they're ovulating, when they're gonna have like all their period symptoms starting, PMS symptoms, all of this stuff. So I thought, right, I did have an app before that I used to use to track my ovulation, well, not ovulation, well, yeah, track my periods and just see when I'm due on. I just used it like as to see when I'm coming on my period and when my pill cycle was ending. I re-downloaded it. I used the app called Flow, and I still use it. Well, I haven't used it to this day. I've changed it now to pregnancy mode, but I began tracking my periods and cycles in the app Flow. I'll put up a picture of what the app symbol looks like so you guys can use it. But yeah, mine's now in pregnancy mode. It comes up with a baby, so I can't even see. Oh, actually I can. You've got the option in the corner to see like your days, your cycle. You can put in when you've had sex. So I did this a couple of times when I was tracking my ovulation, but I'll get onto that in a second. So yeah, the red days, as you would see now on screen, are like when you're on your period, and the blue days are like your ovulation cycle, which is not accurate. This is just put together by the app, and this is your like predicted days of your ovulation. And the little green one that you can see with the dots going around is like your peak, which they have calculated again on the app, which might not be accurate. Yeah, you do have the option to put in, so if you are using ovulation sticks, etc., and you know exactly when you're ovulating, you do have the option to put in there like, no, I'm ovulating on this day, if they've calculated it wrong. Yeah, I really advise using this app if you guys are trying or just want to track your periods and see and learn a bit more about your body, because I learned so much about my body using this app and just tracking my periods in general. So I used this app, and I was going off, so this is before I started tracking my ovulation. I began going off of when the app predicted my ovulation, so I didn't actually know if I was ovulating on this date, because I think they go by like a percentage of women, I'm guessing, like an average woman. They go by an average woman's ovulation cycle, which I learned very soon after that I'm not an average woman. My ovulation cycles are very different to other women. So they say usually that a woman's cycle is between, I think it's like roughly 28 days, which is like including your period. Your first day of your cycle is your period, and that's all the way until your next period is due, and that's like your whole cycle. That's one whole cycle, and that's usually 28 days. After a couple of months of using this method to track my periods and my ovulation cycles, I began to notice that I wasn't falling pregnant. I was beginning to get worried secretly. Obviously Jaden didn't really know I was getting worried, but as we mentioned, we've spoken about not trying for a baby, but I was technically using this app to try for a baby. I was using this app to track my ovulation and obviously tried to do the deed on the ovulation days, and realizing very quickly that things were not working. I was not getting pregnant. Therefore, I then resulted into looking online and looking at all these different women, and on their personal experiences. I was watching YouTube videos on what women were doing to fall pregnant. I was watching other women's YouTube videos just like myself of their trying to conceive journey and what they experienced, what they done to try and get pregnant. I found a website called Net Mums, which I think is such a good website. It's like all different women all around the world can put in their own personal experiences, and they can like relate to other women. They can ask about it. You can upload pictures of like anything. Literally, sometimes it can be a bit TMI, but I don't care. I'm all for it. Like, if I want to know something, I'm exactly like that. I would post it. I don't really care, to be honest. Everyone is human. Everyone has the same things. So if you want to post stuff and it's TMI, but you can get a good response back from other women, why not? So I was looking on there, and you can type in like women trying to conceive, and it'd be like everyone asking for suggestions on what other people did. So that's exactly what I did. And then I was looking into ovulation, right? I didn't really know much about ovulation. I knew obviously you release the egg, but I didn't physically know like what would happen and how many days you're ovulating for, and you have a peak ovulation day, which I wasn't aware of. I learned so much like on this journey. This is what I mean, like I feel like you just learn as you go along. You kind of just like do all the research, and I remember telling Jaden so much, and he used to be like sat there like, whoa Meg, you're getting really deep into this, you need to calm down. And I would just be so invested and just researching for like hours and looking at all this different stuff. It really takes over your brain. I'm one of those people, once I have something in my head, I am all for it. I am researching it. I cannot stop thinking about it unless I do research it. So I'm just like all for it once I want to do something. People were mentioning ovulation sticks, so I mentioned it to Jaden, like I think I need to start buying some ovulation sticks. He was kind of like, Meg, what are you on about? Because this was like going on a couple of months after October, so this would probably be going into the new year now, October, like maybe January 2022, maybe later, I don't know. But this was a couple of months after I started realizing that nothing was working. Therefore, me and Jaden one day we went to Asda, picked up a box of 5-pack, I think it was, of ovulation sticks. I started weighing on them once a day. I did not really know what I was doing. I was like, 2 lines, I'm pregnant or I'm ovulating. But no, that's not how it works. There's always 2 lines on an ovulation stick, and it always depends on the second line and if it's darker or lighter. If it's dark and it gets darker and darker and darker, and it's the darkest you've ever seen it, that is your peak ovulation day, and that means you need to do the deed pretty much within those 24 to 48 hours. You need to do the deed. I was just kind of like so oblivious to all that, and I might have the picture. If I find some pictures on my phone, I need to look it up because it's actually unbelievable. Like, I had pictures on my phone of us trying these sticks, and I really thought that I was ovulating. So obviously I got myself and Jaden doing the deed. I'm gonna put this on screen now. So the 2nd of January 2022 was when I had my Asda ovulation test, and you would see I really didn't have a clue. I wrote down 13, 14, hang on, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this was my cycle days. Cycle day 11, 12, 13 and 14. Yes, the lines do get slightly darker on day 13, but I do not believe these, guys. It just didn't work out well. You only get 4 in a pack, or I believe there was 5, I can't remember. But it's not enough to physically track your cycle and to see if the lines do get darker, because I've literally got 2 days there of when the lines do get dark. So at that time I was like, oh my god, that was another cycle. I was thinking maybe this is when I get pregnant, this is when I'm ovulating. I've started tracking my ovulation. I know I ovulate now on day 13. This is when I changed it all on my app, made all these amendments, and yeah, I didn't get pregnant obviously on that month. And it's so heartbreaking every month when you're like, oh my god, I'm not pregnant again, there's something wrong with me. Every month is just like a constant thought in your head where you're like, oh, I'm not pregnant again, let's try again next month. And I kept reminding myself that I was looking into all these statistics. An average woman takes a year. You got to give yourself a year to fall pregnant. So I was bearing that in mind. I was thinking like, not everyone gets pregnant straight away, not everyone gets pregnant in the space of like a couple of months. And I kept thinking like, well, some women get pregnant on one night stands. Like, how is that possible when like there's women out here trying? They teach you in school that you're going to get pregnant straight away having not used any protection. So you're kind of in your head like, why is my body not working? Like, why is this not working? What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm doing everything I'm being told to do. I just didn't understand it, and it's very, very hard, like battling with your thoughts in your head. So I send my thoughts and my love to anyone going for it, because it is actually such a hard journey. So after that, that was the 2nd of January. Obviously quickly then I must have realized that that wasn't working. I then resorted to buying some test strips on Amazon, and you can get larger boxes. They're cheap little test strips. I seen women on Net Mums and YouTube were basically using a book to track their ovulation. Any notepad you can use. You can buy these notepads specifically for trying to conceive. I made my own using my own little notepad I had at home, and you split it into sections. I will put a picture on screen because I do have pictures on my phone of my own. So this was the picture I went off of. This is not my own, and this is a lady who made her own cycle. As you can see, she had the date of when her first cycle day was, the cycle day numbers. A couple of days after her period, she began tracking her ovulation. So she weed on a stick every morning, every evening, AM and PM, for every day up until about cycle day 27. As I say, an average woman cycle is 28 days. She done it all the way until 27 days. She's got a peak zone, so you can see the lines on the test get darker, sorry, when she is at her peak ovulation. So this is when she's got a hormone that's being released, and it makes her release an egg. Guys, I'm not a scientist. If you want to do your own research, do your own research. It's exactly just what I've taken in myself by doing my own research. Do not take my word for all this. I do not know what I'm talking about, so go and do your own research. But yeah, so after a couple of days after she done her ovulation test, she started doing pregnancy tests, and you can buy a kit with pregnancy and ovulation tests in it. She done a pregnancy test every day up until 27 days on her, up until day 27 on her cycle, and she was pregnant. So I was like, oh my god, I need to do this. So I made my own book. I started weighing on all these tests. Jaden was so fed up of finding these test strips everywhere. I remember Jaden's mum coming over, because Kobe, as you guys may or may not know, Kobe is my dog, and he has been a bit of a nightmare for us. He's very, very good at the minute. We went for a stage of him chewing things and biting things up, so they would come over. If I'm at work all day, they would come and break over the time for him, so he wasn't on his own as long. And my bin upstairs in my bathroom, he used to empty all the time. So all these little wee sticks that I used to wee on, Jaden's mum and sister found, and they probably were thinking like, what is she doing? Like, they kind of knew that we were then trying for a baby, because well, that I was trying for a baby, because they were like, Jaden, Megan's got all these pregnancy tests in the bin, like what is going on? They didn't realise they were ovulation tests, they thought they were pregnancy tests because they all had 2 lines on them. So yeah, it was a bit of a faff. Yeah, I started doing this. I started weighing and sellotaping them into my book. I'm going to try and find a picture of my own book that I done. This is my example of when we started trying for a bit, well, when I started tracking my cycle and writing down everything. So as you can see, I've just gone up to like 28 days. I got a really big peak on cycle day 19, which is late. The usual day for a woman to ovulate is like day 14 in their cycle, and mine was 19. So then I started to realize, we did this a couple of times. Well, I did this a couple of times. I started tracking my ovulations a couple of times. I'd say I did it for about 2 or 3 cycles on and off, and I began to realize that I was ovulating a lot later in my cycle than what the app predicted for me originally. I was not one of those normal women or average women that ovulated at the normal time. I ovulated a lot later, and I learned that about myself. So then I began to change all the details in my app again to when I actually was ovulating, and my cycle was a lot longer than 28 days. My cycle was usually between was in the 30s. It was like late 30s, mid to late 30s, 35 days, sometimes 37 days, sometimes longer. My cycles were never really that regular, so which didn't help when you're trying. But I learned that this is what I mean, like if you guys are even just curious about your body and want to learn about your body, then why not just start tracking your ovulation cycle? And people use this as not just trying for a baby, they use this to prevent pregnancy as well, so they know exactly the days they're ovulating. So if you guys are into not using, you don't want to use any form of like chemical contraception, or you don't want to put all this crap into your body, which I completely understand, then look into using like natural cycles. And people take their temperatures, which is another thing I've looked into, which I didn't ever experience. That was my next step into tracking my ovulation, which I didn't have to use, but people use their basal body temperature. They take that every morning, and that it's like your temperature apparently slightly rises every time you're ovulating, which I learned, which It's crazy. But if you guys are interested in that, then like I said, do your own research. If I was to continue using that maybe for a couple more cycles, maybe I would have fell pregnant, because I don't see why we wouldn't have, because I knew exactly when I was ovulating. These test strips were coming back clear as day when I was peak. I started to learn exactly when I was ovulating, roughly anyway. And you have, like I said, a 24 to 48 hour window when you are actually ovulating and when you need to do the deed around that time. I was becoming very impatient at this point. I was just like, look, my body's not working. I need to try something else. This ain't working for me. I was getting so fed up of peeing on these sticks every day, or peeing into a pot and dipping this thing in every morning. It was just doing my head in, and it was just too much for me. So then I done some more research, and I watched all the YouTube videos under the sun, like I said before. I rewatched Ellie Darby's video when she spoke about trying to conceive, and Ellie Darby mentioned a clear blue ovulation, digital ovulation kit. Her kit that she got was like pretty much £100, and I was not willing to spend that money. Obviously I would have eventually, I think, if I got to the point that I really wanted to try like she was. I decided to go for the cheaper option and get the clear blue ovulation digital test strips, not the actual test kit. I got the strips, which I'll put a picture of on the screen now, and they are quite pricey. I'm gonna look on Amazon, because that's where I got mine from. So you can get a pack of 20 or a pack of 30. We always just got the 20 pack because I was so down to a T of like 20 pack of test. Right, I'm not making any sense. So there's two different packs. You have the smaller pack and the bigger pack. So it comes with one digital test strip, and then you have like all these miniature test strips, which were like the ones I was weaning on every day. You get a 20 pack and I think a 30 pack or a 40 pack, I'm not too sure. We always went for the 20 pack of test strips because I pretty much got down to a T when I was roughly ovulated. I didn't even need to use all those test strips within that cycle because I knew when I was ovulating. But for someone who wouldn't know when they're ovulating and want to go straight to this method, they do come with a lot of test strips. So if you want to like suddenly start testing, you don't know when you're ovulating, then I would go for the 20 test, maybe the 30 test strips, and just wheel on them every day and see if you are ovulating, because it comes up with all these different smiley faces, and it'll tell you when you're exactly ovulating. We purchased one of those. Jaden was like, do you know what, Meg, I'm willing to, like, we'll just buy one, see if this works, even though it is a lot of money, like £20 on like ovulation test strip. Bit like, compared to what I was paying originally on the cheap ones, they were like £5, not that bad. But £20 on a test thing, you're a bit like, is it gonna work or not? So we bought one. I used it for 1 month, I believe. Didn't fall pregnant that month, which I wasn't too heartbroken about because I was kind of learning how to use it myself. And then I realized it comes up with, so like if you wee on it and it comes up with just a plain circle, you are not ovulating. If you wee on it and it comes up with a smiley face, it means you're high, like there's a high chance of you ovulating, your hormones are beginning to rise. And if you wee on it and it got like a flashy smiley face, that's your peak. And you cannot test after your peak. Like basically you have to chuck that digital test strip away. You can keep the little test strips, but you have to chuck that one away and repurchase it, which is why it seems like a lot of money. Like every month you have to buy a new one, which is a bit crap, but I guess that's just how they make their money. So once you get that peak result, you have 24 to 48 hours to basically do the deed and get yourself pregnant. I was like, Jaden, honey, you need to get yourself to work. This girl's ovulating, we need to try. Yeah, it was quite funny. Like the whole idea of like trying to conceive is actually really funny. Like it's one of those things that you kind of don't want to take away the fact of like when you have sex, you don't want to just like focus on the fact that you're doing it to have a baby. You want to obviously still want to have sex with your partner without the thought of having a baby. But I kind of got so obsessed with the fact that I wanted a baby. I was just like constantly like, I want a baby, we need to do it now. It's one of those things, might be a bit TMI this video, but you wouldn't click on it unless you wanted to know. So the first cycle, I think it didn't work, which like I said, I was kind of learning how to use it because of the smiley face situation. It could be a bit confusing. Second test cycle come along, and this was when we went to Egypt last year. So you would have seen all the vlogs of us in Egypt, and I was so disheartened by the fact that I didn't fall pregnant using the test strip the first time around. And I was just like, Jaden, it's a waste of money. Like if we ain't gonna get pregnant, we ain't gonna get pregnant. I was kind of past the point of even trying. I was just so disheartened with myself, and I was just really upset, to be honest. I didn't want to think about trying for a baby at that point. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Jaden was just like, no, Meg, we'll buy one, we'll go away and we'll take it on holiday. I think he was just trying to cheer me up. He was just like, let's just try, why not buy another one? It was our first time trying it, like let's try again. So I was just like, yeah, okay. So we bought another pack to take away of us because I was ovulating on that trip. So Jaden was just like, let's just see. Used it on holiday, knew my peak times, obviously done what we had to do on holiday. Come back home, obviously I started testing. With my problem was as well, I was testing for pregnancy way too early. You're supposed to wait the whole 2 weeks. There's like a 2-week wait. People say like the dreaded 2-week wait. I always started testing a lot earlier because I know you can get positive pregnancy tests from like 10 days past ovulating or 11 days past ovulating. So I was just like, I need to get an early positive pregnancy test. I want to know when I'm pregnant. So as soon as I got back from that holiday, I was testing like a mad woman. I would have all the cheap pregnancy tests and I would test and test and test. And Jaden was just like, look Meg, if you're pregnant, you're pregnant. If you're not, you're not. Like, you need to stop. Like, I was going in this, like, I think Jaden was even going insane with how much I was going insane, because you just get so obsessed with the fact of having a baby. We found out we were pregnant. I took a test before work, I believe, because they say like early morning wee is the best wee. Seen 2 lines on that test. It was one of the cheap ones. I put pictures that I have on screen on screen now so you can see. And I told one of my colleagues at work, and I was like, can you come have a look at this? She's really, really nice. Leanne, if you're watching, I love Leanne. And I was like, can you see if this is 2 lines? Because she's got 4 kids. She would obviously know if it was definitely a positive test. She was like, love, you are pregnant, you need to get yourself a digital test. You can buy the early ones and it should show, because that's clear as day, like 2 lines. Well, even though it wasn't clear as day, it was like a faint line, but you could see it was another line. So at this point I was so excited. Dropped my friend home from work, and after dropping him home from work, I popped into Sainsbury's and bought myself one of the early digital clear blue tests, and they're so expensive. For a pack of 2 it was £18, but I was just like, I don't care how much it is, I want to know if I'm pregnant or not. So I come home and I went and had a bath. I did really chill around Jaden, and I took the test while I was in the bath. It came up that I was pregnant, and I was so happy. And I took another clear blue non-digital one, and it was a cross on there. I would, like I said, put all pictures on screen. I then surprised Jaden in the most stupidest way. I like, even looking back now, I think, what the hell was I thinking? I was just too excited to even think of anything. I come downstairs, I had the test in my pocket, and I was just like, I need to record him. I need to tell him. Like, I can't not tell him because we were so excited. I was thinking like, it's finally worked. We finally got pregnant. I'm so happy. At this point, this was like a year on. So this is like October 2022, so it took literally like a year. I think we found out in the November, but we got pregnant in the October. So I was just like, oh my god, need to record him. And I recorded his reaction. We were both so happy. And like I said, I tested really early, and like every month I tested really early when it comes to pregnancy tests. So I'd say we found out on a Sunday maybe, or like we found out on a Sunday, and literally within like a couple of days I was at work really happy. I started to tell like a few of my close friends, which I know they say you shouldn't tell, but I was so excited at this point, and a few people at work knew that I was trying for a baby. So I was just like so excited. I had a moment where I went to the toilet, and it was just really like, I felt so weird. I felt so hot, so sweaty, and it just came over me. Like, I just didn't feel well at all. And I was sat there on the toilet, like I literally had to take off my uniform top and just chuck it on the floor because I was dripping in sweat, and I was like getting this sink and like splashing my face while I was sat on the toilet. Like, I just didn't feel well. It just came over me all of a sudden. I wiped while I was on the toilet, and there was blood. It wasn't a lot. I took a picture and I sent it straight to my mum. It was kind of like bloody discharge. Sorry, like I said, TMI. If you don't want to watch, click off now, or if you don't want to hear this, then click off. It was actually disgusting, and I sent it to my mum. And she goes, oh Meg, like don't worry, it could be like implantation bleeding, like this is quite normal, like early pregnancy, don't worry about it. And I kind of thought the worst straight away, which I think I knew that something wasn't right for how unwell I felt. I thought for implantation, like bleeding, like I felt like I was physically going to faint on that toilet. So I was kind of like trying to put it to the back of my head. I didn't tell anyone at work. I was just like powering through the day, and I was just like, I'll see how it is. I went to the toilet literally like every hour just to see if like anything else happened. Sometimes I would go to the toilet and there'd be nothing. Sometimes I would go to the toilet and there would literally be like some blood, and it wasn't like brown blood, it was like red blood. So I knew in my head that this pregnancy wasn't gonna be healthy, or something wasn't right with this pregnancy. As soon as I got home, I remember telling Jaden, and Jaden was just like, it's fine, like don't worry about it. Like, he was, bless him, was doing his own research, and he was like, no, it is definitely like implantation bleeding. Like, other women said they've got this. Some women have like huge bleeds at the beginning of their pregnancy and still turn out to be and have this happy, healthy pregnancy. I was kind of thinking like, maybe it's all right. I went and had a bath, I like chilled out, went to watch I'm a Celeb. I remember putting on I'm a Celeb on the telly, and I just had the worst period cramps ever. Like, I have never ever experienced period cramps like how I felt that day. It was just horrendous, like all in my back, all in my belly. My legs just felt numb with how much pain I was in. I got Jaden to get me a hot water bottle, and within that moment I knew I was having a miscarriage. I went to the toilet and there was just so much blood. I just burst into tears on the toilet, and Jaden was like trying to like obviously reassure me, and he was like, you're thinking of the worst, you need to like hope for the best, like think positive. He kept trying to tell me, bless him. But I think as a woman, I just knew that this wasn't right, this wasn't normal. With the amount of research that I did, I was just like, I think I knew it within myself that that was not normal. So I was really, really upset, and it's just so heartbreaking. I think because it was my first positive pregnancy test, I was so happy. We were over the moon. We were thinking like, we finally got pregnant, our first pregnancy, like it finally happened. Because at that point I was kind of thinking to myself, like, if I don't get pregnant now, like there's definitely a problem with either myself or Jaden, like there's something going on for us to not get pregnant. So it was kind of a relief knowing that we got a positive pregnancy test. So yeah, it was just really, really sad when I was on that toilet and I was crying. And I remember those couple of days, bless Jaden, he took time off work to spend with me. And even for a man, like Jaden said, like a lot of the attention goes on the woman when they're going for a miscarriage. But I felt for Jaden as well, because I knew how much it meant for him, knowing that like we finally got pregnant. That like that stress of not having a baby was just gone. Like we were like, yeah, we've got pregnant, we've got past that point, we can now focus on like the future and like us with our baby together. But yeah, it was so heartbreaking for both of us. So it was a really hard time. And I know some people might say like, you literally found out you were pregnant 5 days ago, but for how much we wanted to get pregnant, it was just like, you still think of like the best thing. We told people, obviously we had to then tell people that we were no longer pregnant. It was just heartbreaking. That's why my uploads were so crap over like Christmas time, between Christmas and New Year. It was just, my uploads were just all over the place, because I just wasn't really feeling it. I was kind of just like, I need to take time to focus on myself and bring myself together. Like it made me stronger as a person knowing that I've been through that. And the more people we told that we had a miscarriage, it's so common. More people were like, yeah, we had a miscarriage. Jaden found out people from work, they experienced a miscarriage as a couple, and it is so much more common than what people think. Not many people talk about, but when you do talk about it, more people are like, yeah, we went through that. Me and my wife, people at work would tell me like, me and my wife went through that, or me and my husband went through that, and I know exactly how you felt. And it's just heartbreaking, but it's so common as a thing. And my doctor told me over the phone, like she said, look Megan, this pregnancy itself wasn't going to be a healthy pregnancy, which is why your body decided to get rid of it. So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, which sounds horrible, and I hated it when she said that to me, but looking back now, I was like, it was like a blessing, like for my body to know it was able to get rid of it, get rid of the baby, and it wasn't meant to be. That pregnancy was not meant to be. Yeah, sorry that went into a bit of a deep hole of miscarriage. I'm going to put a trigger warning at the beginning of this video for anyone who doesn't like talking, or people who have experienced it and don't like listening to things like that, because it is a heartbreaking experience for anyone to go through in their couple or as a family. It's just heartbreaking. So then we decided, so that was in November of last year, so November 2022 was when we officially found out we were pregnant and then miscarried. So we decided as a couple then that we would just take a break from it all, let my body go back to normal, let me have another, like my first period since having the miscarriage. So I had the miscarriage in November, I let my cycle go back to normal. I had my first period in December. I researched again that some women's cycles can take a lot longer to go back to normal. It could take months for somebody's cycle to go back to normal after having a miscarriage. So I wasn't really expecting a period to happen in December, which it did. And we fell pregnant then in January. We pretty much fell pregnant straight away again after the miscarriage with our rainbow baby, and now I'm pregnant now, and that is the same pregnancy. I am 20 weeks along with this pregnancy, and we are just both so happy and over the moon, and we just couldn't believe it. Like when I found out I was pregnant, it was just like a surreal experience. I think it was one of those moments that we couldn't believe it. We were just like, oh no, it's too good to be true. Well, sorry guys, my battery died and I can't actually remember what I was talking about, but I'm gonna drink some of my coffee before it gets cold. We were very lucky and very blessed to get pregnant pretty much straight away after our miscarriage. Baby girl is growing exactly how she should be. We are just so happy as a couple that we finally got to this point. And this is the reason why I'm putting this video out there. Originally I wasn't going to share the fact that I had a miscarriage, because it's one of those topics that you're like, do people really want to like know that I've experienced a miscarriage? But then I thought, you know what, so many women experience it, and I want to be one of those women that tell you that it can be normal. Like, you're not the only one to go through it, and things are always going to get better. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, as I've experienced. The whole journey itself is very hard. You just got to keep powering through and don't doubt yourself. Just keep pushing through and think this is normal. It is normal to have a long process of trying to conceive. And I didn't mention the fact that due to me going to scans and things like that, I have found out that I have a cyst on my left ovary, which is pretty large, which I did not know was there before getting pregnant. And I've spoken to my gynecologist and I've spoken to doctors and sonographers, and I said to them, like, could this be a reason why it took us so long to get pregnant? And they said maybe. They didn't want to put their finger on it. They didn't say you can't blame it on that, but it could be a reason why it took us so long to get pregnant. So it kind of like made it so much more like, that's the reason why. But some women don't have cysts on their ovaries and it still takes them just as long, so I don't really want to put the blame on that, which is why I mentioned it at the end of the video, and I didn't want to make that whole subject the main reason why we didn't get pregnant, because I know so many women out there don't have a cyst and their ovaries are completely normal, and themselves and their partner have been tested for problems in conceiving and there's no problems, and they still take a long time to get pregnant. That is our trying to conceive journey. It was a long journey. It was over a year long, so like I said, you're not the only one going through it if you are going through it, and I send my love and support to you out there if you are going through this situation. I hope some of you relate to this video or some of you learn from this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I will see you again in my next video.